Hey gang, I wanted to talk about the definition of calm and silence. And the reason why I want to talk about this stuff is because definitions are really important. The way you talk about stuff, the way you think about stuff, the way you define things in the world is a really powerful reflection of how you interact, how you feel, and how you see the world. So I feel like we need to be very careful with how we define things and how we use specific words and in what context, because it's very easy for things to for words to take on different meanings than you really intend, or maybe not very mindfully intend to. So first, I would like to try to ask you to define silence. What is the definition of silence? Think about that just for a second. What is silence? Is it the absence of noise? If silence is the absence of noise, what you're doing is you're using the absence of something to define another thing, which is a negative definition, which is, probably the weakest form of definition. It's like saying this is food because it's not poison, and you could be talking about cardboard. So that's a bust. It's not the absence of something. So what is silence? Is silence the space between noises? You're getting a little bit closer. You're still utilizing another thing to define one thing, and it's sort of like saying that happiness is the space between sadness, and it could be true, but it's still not quite accurate. That's not, getting to the heart of what is happiness, and it's not quite getting to what is at the true heart of silence. So we need a positive definition, and we need to really make sure that we're defining it on its own terms, not utilizing something else. And so, is silence the overall backdrop to noises? Is it the wide encompassing thing that noise happens to be inside? And so what I'm asking you to do is to evaluate some of your perspectives and some of your assumptions, because it's very easy to think of it as just, oh, it's just noise, and then silence is just something that happens every once in a while, and it's a little bit awkward. But we, especially in this culture, we refer to the noises, we refer to the distractions, not the overall backdrop of what's happening. We want to understand, what is that default state? Is the default state noise? Because if earlier on we were trying to define silence through the noises. And is noise the default state, or is silence the default state? And using this framework of trying to evaluate that perspective, trying to take a step back and evaluating, is it the noise or is it the silence? What are we really trying to get at here? And that's what I want us to use for this. I want us to use this framework to try to define calm. What is calm? Is calm the absence of racing thoughts? That's a negative definition. That's not very useful, is it? Is calm the space between thoughts? You're getting a little bit closer. You're still not quite there, because you're still utilizing that secondary thing to define your primary focus. Or is calm the default state? Is that what we are, and the racing thoughts happen to come through every once in a while? Do we choose on some level to focus on the racing thoughts rather than focusing on the calm? Is calm something we can cultivate? Is that something we can truly focus on and kind of not necessarily ignore the racing thoughts, but maybe acknowledge those racing thoughts? Maybe acknowledge the noise, but always considering that calm that we all have, that we don't necessarily need to be tracking and following that noise. We can remember that the true backdrop is silence, is calm. And the real basis of this is trying to understand that calm and silence, those are two things that aren't things we find. They're not things that just we stumble across in random blissful moments of epiphanies. They're always around us, they're always there, but it's whether or not we are mindful of those things. That silence, that calm, it's something that we have to practice on a day-to-day basis, which, again, easier said than done, but like any practice is, it's easier said than done. So I want you to think about that during your mindfulness work today, and enjoy those thoughts.